Now Inside the Huddle with Sky Sports, Neil Reynolds and Jeff Reinebold.
Yes, hello, welcome to Inside the Huddle and to the morning after the longest NFL Sunday since the 1970 merger. 15 hours and 27 minutes wall-to-wall football because we started in London and we finished with a 90-minute weather delay for the game between the Steelers and the Cowboys. But Jeff, well, actually, no, I'm not going to lie. I was going to say it was fantastic, but I'm feeling every one of those minutes this morning.
I have to know. I know it's October. I know it's week 6, but more than anything, it's the London games.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I'm telling you, Neil, check this out. We get back from playing at San Diego State, fly 5.5 hours back across the Pacific, land. I come to the facility at 4:30 in the morning, and they're just about ready to kick off. And I'm watching it, and the scene was unbelievably impressive.
Yeah, we'll talk about the game a little bit later because I want to lead with Baltimore and Cincinnati. But Jeff, just first of all, it was just really good to see all the fans again coming together in London. I was very privileged to host the first ever NFL London Games Ring of Honor ceremony. So to be on the field to do that with OC and Jared Allen going in, I thought it was a real treat. Fantastic. I had my suit on, I had my tie on. I was at the podium with people all around me. I mean, Prime Minister, who says no?
Hey, listen, Jared Allen, O.C.U. Manora, and Neil Reynolds. Prime Minister, who's he?
What a government. Let's start, though, in Cincinnati, and then we'll double back to the London game because we have to, with Baltimore winning 41-38 against the Cincinnati Bengals in overtime. So Justin Tucker kicks the game-winning field goal, 24 yards. Just before that, Evan McPherson is lining up for a 53-yard game winner. Bad operation. Well, I'm going to ask you in a second, bad snap or just a bad hold. Derrick Henry rips off the big run, and suddenly this one is over. Let's start with the end of the game. That field goal attempt for the Bengals, where was it bad, Jeff?
Well, I think it began with the fact you got a backup holder, right? And again, he hasn't had the work. The snap, because I watched it really close on the the ISO, and the snap looked like it was plenty like good. I mean, it wasn't a great snap, but it certainly wasn't. It didn't wobble. It wasn't high. He was able to get it down. McPherson, just to get it kicked the way he did, it was really a phenomenal amount of concentration because that ball was on the ground. Then they had to pick it up and make it upright. It seems crazy to me that a game. So you say you want offense. This game had almost, Neil, I like 900 and some yards of total offense between the two teams.
Yeah, there was
it comes down to a 24-yard field goal. Right? I mean, that seems just crazy to me. But think about the number of offensive superstars that were on that field today, and they did not disappoint at all.
No, they showed up. Lamar Jackson, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Joe Burrow, 392 yards, 5 touchdowns. He did have 1 pick. Jamar Chase, 10 catches, 193 yards, 2 scores. Derrick Henry had the big 51-yard run. Jeff, I said this on Sky on Sunday night. In the second half, it just turned into a hold my beer game. It was like, right, you done that? Good, hold that. I'm going to go and show you.
Like this. That's exactly what it was. And see, here's the thing, and I'm going to give away, my choice for player of the week already. Yeah. But how can you have 193? Now, when you talk to receivers, what they care about is how many times did you throw it to me? How many targets?
Yeah.
That's the term they use. How many targets did I get? He had 12 targets in the game. There's 70 offensive plays, right? So it wasn't like Joe Burrow was just looking for him alone, right? He had 12 targets, converted it into 10 catches for 193 and 2 touchdowns. And one of those was a short completion that you saw his athleticism as he took off. That little hitch he caught and then just outran everybody down the sideline was phenomenal.
Joe Burrow said that afterwards, he said that Bengals aren't playing at a championship level. Clearly, they're struggling. They're 1-4 and struggling on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't think they're out of this, Jeff. I know normally there's all these stats about teams with a poor start. When you've got Burrow and Chase, I think you've got a chance to win a lot of games between now and the end of the regular season.
And my point to that was, when I heard that comment, I said, he's exactly right. And he said, we're going to, and I don't know if you caught this part of it, but there was a long kind of diatribe that he went into, and he said, we are going to hit our stride. We are going to catch fire. He has enough confidence, and they have enough talent on that team. They're really not playing very good defense right now. But think about it. Are the Ravens playing championship football? Are the Steelers playing championship football? Are the Browns playing championship football? Yeah. There's that division is wide open.
Yeah, the Ravens improved to 3-2. Cincinnati dropped to 1-4. So let's talk about the London game then. Minnesota moved to 5-0. They beat the New York Jets 23-17. All we have is, so that's 8 of the last 9 games in London have been decided by one score. So we're very fortunate to have these games go down to the wire. 3 interceptions of Aaron Rodgers, though, sealed this for the Vikings, including Stephon Gilmore right at the death when the Rodgers was driving the Jets for what was a potential victory. The Vikings are 5-0. They're now 4-0 in London with 4 different quarterbacks over the years. But what interested me with this one, Jeff, Sam Darnold threw for 179 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. The Vikings rushed 30 times for 82 yards. So there was none of that glittering offense, but they still got the victory. So are they a for real 5-0?
Yeah, because, there's a saying in coaching that in the end, they don't ask how, they just ask how many. And this is a team that has found ways to win. I think they're doing as good a job as anybody right now. And, are they going to win the division? I can't tell you that right now, because that's another one of those divisions that anybody could win. But what they are doing is enough. Every week they're finding a way. We talk about Kansas City as a find your way team. This team won that football game on their defense, and the offense just did enough. And there have been weeks where they won on offense, and the defense has just done enough. But I thought that they did a phenomenal job of hitting, harassing, hurrying Aaron Rodgers, and you saw it. I thought he was courageous in the way he played, but I certainly thought they dominated the lines of scrimmage. And when you think about what it takes to win football games, and even in today's NFL that's so offensive minded, you still, if you have a top 10 defense, you have a much better chance. Statistics will tell you that. Analytics will tell you that. And I think the Vikings defense is that caliber of defense.
Rodgers has been hit 25 times in the last 2 games, Jeff. That's too many for a 40-year-old. This game was out of hand early. It was 17-0, but Rodgers throws an absolute laser back of the end zone to Alan Lazard for the touchdown. So it's a 10-point game. I never felt like the Jets were so far behind that they needed these kind of numbers. Rodgers threw the ball 54 times. He was sacked 3 times. There were 57 dropbacks, and they called 14 running plays for 36 yards. Surely by now there should be more of a plan for the Jets, and to abandon the run so quickly, maybe it suggests how good the Vikings were playing.
I love it. I love it, the way we work together. I really do, because you just took me to one point that I wanted to make. Talk about a segue. The Jets rushed 14 times for 36 yards. You have one of the premier backs in the league, in Breece Hall, and you rush 14 times. You average 2.6 yards a carry. You can't win football games that you're that one-dimensional. If it's not hot under Robert Saleh's seat and Nathaniel Hackett's seat, it's got to get that way, because this is a team. You look at it and you say, Buffalo gets beat this week. The Dolphins are crippled right now. The New England's years away. You still have a chance in this division, but you don't have a chance until you get some balance in your offense and until you play complementary football.
Let's move on to the AFC South, where the Indianapolis Colts then won in Jacksonville in 10 years, so we should have known this was coming. This was wild. talk about Jacksonville limping over the finish line. They got there, so they win 37-34. Cam Little's 49-yard field goal with 17 seconds left. This was a great performance for a lot of this game for Jacksonville, but they were up 34-20 with 5 minutes left. And Flacco and the Colts pegged them back to 34 apiece. So you've got to be wondering what those players are thinking, Jeff, because they've lost so many close ones. They could have been 3-1 coming into the season. They were 0-4, and they were staring down another one, but they get the job done in the end, and Doug Peterson needed this.
Boy, he needed it bad, and you could see it on the faces. And I'll start with Trevor Lawrence, but that entire football team, that entire sideline. I watched Doug at the end of the game, and it was just like you could see the weight being taken off his shoulders, because he can say what he wants to say about not worried about his job. But the fact of the matter remains, you know this business, you know the way it works. Yeah. And when you've lost 9 straight, you're on borrowed time.
Yeah, I think when the Colts tied it up, he was almost on his knees, and he had to get back up and they had to drive. But I mean, when you look at the number, Trevor Lawrence responded. Like he'd really had that run form we were talking about, 371 yards, 2 touchdowns. Interesting development the last few weeks with the Jags, in that Travis Etienne is a top back as well, has been for the last couple of years. But here comes Tank Bigsby. The last couple of weeks, this has been a thing, and he had 13 carries for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think the response was on the offensive side of the ball for Jacksonville. And I mean, I just feel like that's a huge weight lifted off Trevor's shoulders as well.
Absolutely. And when I'm watching the game, he rips off that last run, and I go, who the hell is Tank Bigsby? But, it doesn't matter what your reputation is or what you've done in the past or what round you were drafted in or any of that stuff. When you put your hand in the dirt, you got to perform, and he performed today, and it was huge for his football team.
Joe Flacco with the help of Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce was fantastic in this game. Flacco, 359 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Off the bench, 39 years of age, 17th season. I mean, Cleveland should have kept Flacco in there. Cleveland should have kept Flacco, and they'd be starting by now.
Don't get me started on that one now. The ball that Flacco threw was so beautiful. Yeah. And it was just that long, loping, tight spiral, that easy to catch ball. And, I watched some of the young quarterbacks, and they really could learn from watching a guy like Flacco, who understands that you don't throw every ball the same, right? And there are times to touch it over the top and layer it over the top or drive it in or whatever. And, that only comes with experience.
Right. Yeah, there's nuances to it. So how often do we see a young quarterback throw a pass out into the flat at like 80 miles an hour? So no, it needs to be there. So you're definitely right on that. Let's talk about another young quarterback. So the Chicago Bears are heading to London next week. We've got the game on Sky, the Jags and the Bears. So they're both coming in with a win. Chicago beat Carolina 36-10. And this was progress, Jeff, for further progress, because I think we're seeing that week on week now for Caleb Williams. He goes 20 of 29 for 302 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Bears beat the Panthers.
And you look at his body of work, and if you divide it this way, take his first 10 quarters and his last 10 quarters, and you watch him and you see market improvement that you don't have to be a quarterback coach to see. Yeah. You watch his composure. He's slowed down now. He doesn't, you can see that he doesn't feel like he has to make every play a splash play. They don't all have to be highlight reel plays or highlight reel throws. I have really been impressed with what he's been able to do. He's better in the pocket. He doesn't rely solely on his athleticism to make plays anymore. Here's what I think, Neil, has been the biggest change is the offensive coaches have figured out DeAndre Swift is a pretty good weapon. And when DeAndre Swift, this is 2 weeks in a row now, DeAndre's accounted for over 120 yards of total offense. And that, I think, is a key to Caleb Williams' development.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that Caleb is growing, and you can see it. He's becoming more comfortable. He's looking confident. The throws he's making, the second touchdown pass to DJ Moore was a beauty, and he threw a great one to him the week before as well. but his receivers are healthy, his running back is productive. So that's all going to help a young quarterback, isn't it?
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. You know, when you look at, say, for example, and you know, think about this. I just want to say this because I feel so strongly about it. As fans in the UK, and I consider myself a fan in the UK, right?
Yeah.
As fans in the UK, to have the opportunity to see the 4 quarterbacks we're going to see in these 2 weeks is absolutely amazing. Because you think Sam Darnold, former first round, I mean, he's the story, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You know, like the ride, like Phoenix, he rose from the ashes, right? And you got Aaron Rodgers, who I don't know how many he's thrown for miles of yardage in the NFL, is going to walk into the Hall of Fame. You got Caleb Williams coming, who's, you know, the first round pick this past year and the everybody's choice to be the next Patrick Mahomes. You got Trevor Lawrence, who's, you know, obviously
first overall.
You're not going to get better. I mean, you're not going to get better. It's a phenomenal time for football in the UK.
It's not a great time for the Carolina Panthers, and they probably weren't enjoying watching Caleb Williams to DJ Moore, because this is all connected to the trades and the business that the Bears have done with the Panthers over the last couple of years to land Caleb Williams and to get DJ Moore. I mean, they got DJ Moore as part of the positioning to get Caleb Williams, and those two went out and put it on the Panthers. So these are just the things that come back and bite you, Jeff.
Oh, and I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if you saw it on the broadcast, right? Because I know you're working and you got your own game to do it on. But there was some fan holds up a sign in Chicago, and it's a laundry list of everybody that they got. And then over here, it's like nada. You got nada.
My goodness, these are crazy.
He did get in the game, and actually completed a couple balls at the end. So I guess that consolation prize.
I mean, these are the plays these are the moves that history judges and get general managers, not other jobs in other places. You'd be like,
general manager sell insurance. That's what it does.
Exactly. Let's talk about. You mentioned the AFC East sort of being a struggle at the moment, and that division being wide open. Buffalo dropped a second straight game. The Houston Texans beat the Bills 23-20, winning it on a Kaimi Fairbairn 59-yard field goal as time ran out. I'm going to call a timeout. 59-yard field goal, Jeff, in old money, that's probably 49 yards. I mean, I feel like 10 yards have been added to all these kicks to the point where if there's like a 53-yarder, we just assume it's going to be made. Whereas before that might have been somebody's career long.
Absolutely. And there have been more plus 50-yard field goals this year already than any year in NFL history. And the amount of accuracy beyond 50 is what's incredible. It's not like it's just a shot in the dark last play of the game that's the only choice we have. These guys are lining up and cranking them consistently, and that's really impressive. You know, you think about this one, and Fairbairn is a white kid, which is kind of cool. And, you know, he was never really known as a big leg guy, but I don't know what it is, you know, but this year we are on a tear with kickers being able to, you know, crank them from way out there.
I mean, the start of the Dallas-Pittsburgh game, they're delayed 90 minutes. So you wonder how everyone's warmed up. There's all the mist is still in the air. The field is soaking wet from the storm. And Brandon Aubrey's barely swinging his leg and landing 55-yarders. I mean,
see, he might break 70. If there's ever going to be a guy that can break 70, he might be the guy to do it.
Yeah. Let's look at this game then. So, Jeff, right at the end, Buffalo had the ball on their own 5-yard line. Now, Houston still had their timeouts. So if Buffalo had run the ball, it's not as simple as run the clock out, but there's a chance that they can eat some clock. They make Houston use their timeouts. Buffalo threw 3 passes from out of their own end zone, including a couple of long ones. All fell incomplete. They punted. Robert Woods has a 13-yard return. CJ Stroud, 1 completion, and this field goal wins the game. I mean, that's a head scratcher, isn't it?
Okay. Now, did you and Phoebe not talk about coach speak last week?
Yep.
Okay. Well, we got some coach speak from
I'm worried about your coach speak.
He got beep, beep.
Yeah. What is it? What was it?
No, but you know what he did, but what McDermott did, I get it, right? What he was doing, right? But sometimes you got to read through the words. If you watch Sean at the end of the game, when they called that first pass, which really sealed the rest of the drive, because you throw a ball, it's incomplete, and now the clock stops. Well, now you're destined where the ball is. You got to throw it now. The rest of the other two downs before you punt it out. And he climbed up whoever he was on the phone with at that time, and it had to be. I mean, I don't know because I wasn't on the phone, but my experience tells me he had the offensive coordinator on the phone, and I'm not an expert lip reader at all, but I understood those words because I saw them. I think I started seeing them from my mom when I was about 8, and I've heard them for my whole life. So
the coach speak, you can't repeat, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, then at the end of the game, he threw himself on the sword and said, "It was my decision. I didn't handle the clock well, yada yada yada." And then what was really interesting, and this I find this as a positive if you're a Bills fan. Everybody that went to the press conference after the game shared that same line.
Right.
You know, Josh Allen said, "Hey, the coach believes in us and gave us an opportunity." He didn't say, "What the heck were we doing?" You know, and the same offensive line, everybody that got up on the podium, because they tried to, like the media does, they tried to get a wedge between them, and they all were in lockstep. And, the Bills are a good football team. And I think we're going to talk about something that the Bills need, and they need it well before Christmas.
Go on.
I'm not saying a word. We'll segue into it later.
Okay. I like it. Josh Allen went 9 of 30 in this game. That worries me. I've not seen that from Josh Allen before. CJ Stroud, 331 yards and a touchdown. Nico Collins left the game with a hamstring injury. So Houston, Jeff, are a pretty quiet 4-1.
Yeah, they're a good football team.
Yeah.
I really like that football team. They brought in some guys on defense that are, can make a difference for them. When they get Mixon back, you think about that, they don't have Joe Mixon right now. That's your closer, your running back. They got depth at wide receiver. They are a very, very, very good football team.
Let's do one more game, then we're going to make our Player of the Week, Coach of the Week picks. So the Arizona Cardinals beat the San Francisco 49ers 24-23. 49ers didn't score a point in the second half. And Jeff, they were cruising and they were in control. But this felt to me like a classic never put them away. They never properly put them away. They just let them hang around. So you can look at all the X's and O's and all of that stuff, which is going to decide where this game was won or lost. But from a layman's point of view, you just let them stick around. And that happens. They can go win games.
It's exactly correct, Neil. It's exactly correct. And you never want to let a great athlete hang around.
Right.
And
yes.
Kyler Murray and the ball, and it wasn't even that big a deal in the game, but the ball he threw to Harrison, where he's got, they try and blitz him, and he's falling away, and he just yanks it up in the air, and he gets a completion. When you let a team that you should finish off hang around, and they've got an athlete with the ball in his hands, you are making your life really, really difficult, and it came back and it beat them. You would think, wouldn't you, that a team like the Niners, Neil, who has all that experience and been to the 2 Super Bowls and, that they would be better closers than that.
Yeah. Not closing the game out, not finding ways. They've had a few times now this year where they haven't been able to score touchdowns. I think all the way back to week 1 against the Jets, it was like 5 or 6 Jake Moody field goals. Moody left this game, so punter Mitch Wisnowski had to kick a field goal at one point. Just on your Kyler Murray point, the pass to Marvin Harrison was a huge one, as you say. On his 50-yard touchdown run, he reached a speed of 21.27 miles per hour. That's the fastest ball carry for a quarterback in the last 8 seasons. And Jeff, he got half a yard ahead of the last defender, 40 yards from the end zone, and he's giving
I saw that. Yes. He was like, he knew you ain't catching me. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's another quarterback who doesn't have those type of skills,
Yeah.
you feel yourself. But when there is an athlete with the ball in his hands on the other side of the field, you better finish him.
Yeah.
And until you get them finished, it ain't over. But see, that's what I'm saying. How can a team like the Niners, as veteran laden as they are, with their veteran coach and all that, not be better closers in a divisional game?
I think as well, this has become a bit of I saw Purdy running around too much for my liking. I saw him sacked in person 6 times against Minnesota. That's a sneaky problem for the 49ers, that offensive line. I believe that has been a bit of their undoing in the past 5 weeks, where they're 2-3.
Yeah, but because when we think of the Niners offensive line, everybody sees Trent Williams. Well, there's 5 that have to play together to protect the quarterback, not just one. And Trent Williams is probably the best offensive lineman in football right now and has been for a while. But he's not playing right tackle, right guard, center, or left guard. He's the left tackle, and he can only protect, what he can protect.
Let's make a few picks then here for our awards. Player of the week, I'm going to go Lamar Jackson. So he had the fumble in overtime, which could have cost his team. I think he's clapping for that ball, and it's not coming, and then it does, and it hits him in the hands, and he doesn't get it. But he goes 348, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He seals the award for me, Jeff, for twice stiff-arming Sam Hubbard off him. That's a 270-pound defensive end. I mean, as Bill Parcells used to say, this is why you lift all them weights.
Yes, exactly.
And he throws the touchdown to Isaiah Likely. I mean, that is box office.
Oh, just on sheer entertainment value, you have to take that one, right? I mean, it just like we were in a meeting, and I leave the games on in my room, in my office, and I came back and I saw the play as I walked into my office, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Did he just do that?"
But you like Chase as well?
Yeah, I'm going to take Chase because I just think that 10 for 193 and 2 touchdowns. That's 19 yards a catch, 2 touchdowns, and you're giving your team a chance to win the football game.
Yeah. And what about your coach of the week, Jeff?
Can't go anywhere but Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for Minnesota. And, we root hard for guys like Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and, Alex Smith and all these wonderful comeback stories. Well, Brian Flores lost his job in Miami. And, as typically happens in our society, after he gets kicked out the building, then all of this stuff comes out about what a terrible guy he is and hard to live with and can't get along with the GM and Tua hated him and, all of it, like harassed play. And he quietly has gone back to Minnesota as an assistant and is going to, and it's hard. We talk about this all the time. It's hard for defensive guys to get a second chance.
Yeah.
I truly believe he's going to get a second chance.
All right, good. That's our coach of the week. Let's double back. Buffalo getting a Christmas present. Does it happen to play wide receiver in Las Vegas? Is that what it does?
Devontae? I think that makes too much sense.
Right.
Neil, Phoebe knows the Bills inside and out because she worked there, right? And she knows the commitment that the Pagula family that own the team has to bring in a championship to Buffalo. They also know that their Super Bowl window is not going to last forever.
Right.
And what do they need? They're good enough on defense. Sean McDermott has patched together a defense that's, I mean, they've lost a bunch of guys, but somehow they keep playing defense. But they need a weapon for Josh Allen, and it makes too much sense. The Raiders want a second-round pick and additional compensation. Give them Niagara Falls and a second-round pick and go get Devontae Adams.
They'd love that in Las Vegas. Stick that at the end of the strip. Just put it at the end of the strip next to the stage.
You're right. It's in Vegas. It's a natural. It's a natural. I don't know why nobody's thought of it,
No, I don't. Other than you at whatever time it is there, way too late in the evening. You've had the longest day in NFL history, so we will let you go. Jeff, just one little aside from Sunday. So I don't know if you saw my socials, and so I had a really tight turnaround from going from that halftime ceremony to getting on air for Sky. First time in my life, Jeffrey, went on a motorbike.
What?
Yeah.
Was it on a cops? What, it was on a motorcycle?
But like a courier, like a sort of express service, but like when you get a car to work, but it was a bike.
Let me ask you: did you wear a leather helmet, goggles, and a scarf around?
I'll tell you what, I had the helmet on. I fully used that. I didn't have any leathers on. I was a bit worried about that. The only thing I would say is I actually enjoyed it. It was all right.
Did you really?
Yeah, and it was about a 40-minute journey, but 20 minutes in, I had this real pain up my shoulder and up my neck, and I realized I was gripping on too tight. So then I had to chill out. I had to relax.
And now, when you started your story, my brain goes, okay, he's going to tell me he got a police escort from Tottenham Hotspur to the studio. I would have said, wow, that's really cool. But the fact you were on a motorcycle, you are truly my hero, Neil Reynolds.
Just another one to tick off. Just another bizarre day in the life working in the NFL. So, all right. So, we are wrapping this one up. We're going to be back. I'll be back with Phoebe on Thursday, building up to week 6 in the NFL. Myself and Jeff will be back next Monday to look back on another London game, the Bears and the Jags. I hope to see all of you there. And Jeffrey, we're counting to get these London games out of the way, get your season finished. I know you can't talk about seasons being finished yet. Then we'll
not yet.
Be on these shores soon.
All right, man. It's so awesome to see you every week. And thank you to everybody who listens to the podcast. Aloha.